I want to add my voice to the many who have endorsed you to be our president. Just think of what a difference it would make right now if we had a president who not only listened to the science, put facts over fiction, but brought us together.
Brought us together, and also, Mika, as we keep saying, saw this coming in January.
Yeah.
Warned that Donald Trump was not prepared, would not have America prepared in January for a coming pandemic.
So that was Hillary Clinton. She endorsed Joe Biden for president. And Claire McCaskill, as Joe points out, Joe Biden warned America, and it was a grave warning. It was a opinion piece written in USA Today, and he nailed it on every level as to what was coming, which really even shows even more not only the difference between these two candidates if you're making a choice for president, but how clear the warnings were for Trump.
Yeah, we now know that Trump was warned by his intelligence community repeatedly. We know that he was warned by HHS repeatedly, the secretary of HHS. We now know that the CDC docs. We now know that we had Americans working at the World Health Organization embedded there in January and February. And we know that Joe Biden warned President Trump. He had warnings from just about every place you could get a warning as a sitting president, but he didn't want to hear what he was being told. And when Donald Trump hears something that he doesn't want to hear, he ignores it and he goes his own way. And as a result, we have more than a fourth of the deaths in the world from this virus, even though we only have 4% of the population. Our party is coming together, very unified. I was a little disappointed at what I heard yesterday about a third-party candidate. The noise you heard yesterday was a confetti cannon going off in the White House when Justin Amash announced that he was running for president. They dropped balloons from the sky in the West Wing when Justin Amash announced that he was running for president. Every single anti-Trump vote needs to be focused on the viable candidate for president. Every single one. We do not have room for error in this election. This is no time for a Ross Perot or a Jill Stein or a Ralph Nader. This is time for everyone to be united that believes that Donald Trump is a very bad president for the country we love.
Well, and Willie, if history is any guide, and certainly it should be, you could look at what happened in 2000, Ralph Nader getting George W. Bush elected. You could look in 2016, Jill Stein helping to get Donald Trump elected president. And there is no doubt that there are a lot of never-Trumpers out there who will probably vote for Amash. Not most of them on Twitter, but there will be many other people who will take their vote away from Joe Biden and will be voting for Justin Amash.
Yeah, and the congressman has won praise for sticking to his principle in the Trump years and being one of the few to cross President Trump while he was in Congress. Obviously, as Claire has expressed here, a lot of people in the Democratic Party are not pleased with this announcement because if you think about one other element of this, he is from Michigan. Clearly will have some support in Michigan if he makes it all the way to the ballot in November. And I would remind you that Michigan went by, 11,000 votes in 2016.
All right. So
thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.